I'll come back. 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 I'll come back.
Something no loop. Okay.
Warning.
Five. All right. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hello and welcome to the Barcast. The bar gets lower every single week. Your bartenders for this evening will be Alex _.
Why am I here?
Because you're told to.
The intern does what it's told.
And my name is Flutterpriest. This week we have a very special cast for you guys, one that you guys have actually requested for, and we just happened to run into at HRPC. Odyssey Eurobeat, please welcome. Thank you for joining us.
No problem. They actually brought me here in a burlap sack for the most part. They kept it pretty well air conditioned, but otherwise just a little bit cramped.
Yeah, no, we try not to rough you up too much, but we ain't fluffers by any means.
Yeah, no, it was better than some of the first BronyCon flights that I've taken, so we're good.
What? Just like, just get shipped in a dog cage. I can be someone's pet just for a trip.
Yeah, I think depending on where you go, you have to pay more for that.
Oh. But for those of you who may be tuning in for the first time, welcome. We're a user-submitted podcast where you guys ask for the guests. We ask and get them on. Then you ask the questions, and we make them miserable for 2 hours. Short and sweet and simple. We're doing this on Twitch TV live right now, but you can feel free to catch up on this and any of the other guests that we've had before, such as Bill Newton, John Delancey, and many others out on YouTube and iTunes. Let's see. What else am I missing? We do not have a drinking word. Oh my gosh, we're extremely unprepared.
How about Discord? Just to undo that right off the bat.
I'm sorry, I didn't catch the word.
No, I'm looking at the stream right now. See?
Oh no.
Yeah, you can't pull that kind of thing on me, man. Doesn't mean I'm not drinking. Don't pull that on the person who just proposed the word.
All right. Well, whenever you hear the word Discord, which I'm sure might come up at least once or twice,
the current service,
be sure to take a drink at home. The wonderful Alex _ is watching the chat. So if you have any questions, yes, you are. So you're going to put them in our little chat.
It wasn't a question, it was an affirmation.
It is.
I am.
Here I am having a knife to your throat. This is what you're doing.
Okay, this just got hot real quick.
Only the kinkiest at the Barcast.
Oh,
anyway, with that said, let's jump straight in. We've got some actual interview questions. So for those of you who may not be into the music scene of NLP or have recently just joined and don't know about anything that happened in, say, 2011 or the following few years, Odyssey, who are you and what do you do?
In short, I kind of accidentally started just sort of the modern Brony music scene. In 2011, I did just a quick little remix of just a little Evil Enchantress skit in episode, I'm tempted to say 2.
Yes.
And that was just for making up for, someone was looking for the vocals removed, and I thought I could, and I didn't. I was like, just put this together, call it good. And it turned out that was the first fan music project related to the fandom at all. And then from there, just kind of exploded into whatever this is. It's just a mess everywhere. But from there, I've just done a few tracks people might have heard of, and then a couple others that someone else did better. Yeah, just basically I just make Eurobeat music, and in 2011, I decided to start making it about My Little Pony: Friendship is Magic.
And that's just kind of crazy because you didn't initially start doing NLP stuff. You had other things like You have the Lucky Star BGM remix that you did.
Oh God, are you guys dipping that far back into my YouTube? That's not even the oldest thing that I've done, but I forgot that was even there. Oh gosh, yeah, no, I've been doing music long before MLP FIM hit any kind of TVs. In fact, I was doing Toho remixes for a good while, and in fact, I had a couple songs on the Super Eurobeat series before, actually just the one at the time, but I've done a couple songs for Super Eurobeat even before Ponies came along.
Right, and of course, Odyssey Eurobeat is not the only name that you've gone under for too either.
Right. Eurobeat has this weird case of multiple personality. You know, it's not a disorder. They've got it largely under control. In this case, for Super Eurobeat material, I went under the name Ken Blast, and two of those three tracks ended up in the arcade game and anime series Initial D.
Yes.
And then I've also gone under Odyssey, Mortimer DNA Team, a couple different aliases, T. Stebbins, just depending on what kind of project I'm working on, where it's going, and things like that. Turns out that the guy that was the guy behind Dave Rogers, Giancarlo Pasquini, has had like 50 other aliases, and that's not really much of an exaggeration. Like they collect these things. Even the guy that sang on Running in the 90s, or Night of Fire, he's got aliases that date way back into like mid 80s, like back when they were still doing just straight up Italo disco.
Right.
Yeah. So so some of the stuff that I've done, you know, Odyssey, Ken Blast, Eurobeat, Brony, that kind of thing, by any other name. Although I'm certainly not the first in the scene to do that kind of thing too. I remember Lapix? No, Lapfox. Yeah. Lapix is different. They've got a few aliases as well, from what I understand.
Well, still, cool. So then that begs the question. Obviously, you have a huge repertoire, resume of music before you ever got into doing pony music or started doing pony music. What got you into the fandom, and what kind of spurred this chapter of your life?
Oh gosh, good question, and into story time. As many of these stories begin, it starts with the loss of a family member. Right in my first semester living on campus over at San Jose State, go Spartans, I was like, you know what, I'm having a rough time, but let's turn this around. Let's, you know, it was some Saturday. Let's bunker down in the in mess hall basically and just get this done. Immediately once I start, I get a phone call that my grandfather passed away, basically due to pretty severe malpractice. For a case that we ended up losing, and they only didn't countersue because we were able to play our cards right. So I started turning towards cartoons and animation to cope. You know, I'm a pretty massive weeb, so there, you know, I of course had a pretty healthy dose of anime, everything, this or that, you know, moe stuff. Right. But I also started doing a lot in regards to Western animation. Like I really got into Batman, Piderman on YouTube, just very briefly. And turned out they're Eurobeat fans too, which is pretty neat. But just that, and just other YouTube series and things like that. I very briefly like touched into the like Scrooge McDuck like comic world. There's this big old set of lore there, which is fascinating. But
really, okay,
yeah, and a lot of this involves. I mean, okay, this is the kind of crowd where I can talk about it. Okay, so I was already pretty familiar with /co/a/a/j to a lesser extent. And I noticed that they started posting, you know, don't mind us. We're just, there was a picture of like a herd or a crowd or something from MLP. It's like, don't mind us. We're on our way to page 10. And I'm like, what? And I started seeing threads unironically talking about the show. At the time, this was early enough to where I was like, whatever, they're doing their thing. But come January, that's about when I start seeing a little bit more about the show. And someone's like, oh, hey, you know, can someone pull out the vocals for me? Sure, I can do that. I've got the technology. I'm totally not really new to Logic Pro. Tried, failed. I'm like, oh, man, could probably do better with that. So I made, basically made Evil Enchantress to make up for that. I don't know if they cared, but... you know, I finished it, posted it to the MLP General, and just called it good. A little bit later, I don't remember exactly when, but not long after that, Winter Wrap-Up leaked. And I remember it very specifically. There's a picture of a very excited-looking Superman, and they post, "Is the Eurobeat Brony going to remix this one?" And I was like, "Wait a minute, what? I have a name? They know what Eurobeat is? What?" And it from there it just kind of built up into this thing. Around about that time, other musicians were starting to come in. We had Not a Clever Pony, Chained Algorithm, some of the really, really early faces, Lap Foxes, Rainbow Dash Likes Girls, Pinkie Pie Swear, just a lot of the really early names, like even names like Philly Poo and Boschfire, sort of that first wave.
Oh yeah.
And I don't know, it was just for a little while, it was just kind of a nice cutesy escape from whatever I was coping with at the time, but then just sort of became this big thing that snowballed into meeting some of the folks that I'll very likely be friends with for the rest of my life, and just going on all kinds of crazy adventures across the planet.
Of course. Usually the next question is when we kind of ask, like, well, what part of the fandom do you kind of stick to, like to the music and fanfics, cons, stuff like that. But we're going to deviate from that a little bit, and we're going to ask, like, since you were kind of there at the beginning of this musical movement for the fandom, how did you see the music community begin to build and form? Did it all just start with, hey, we should start a Skype chat? And all of a sudden people just got invited, and then boom, there's Pinkie Pie Swear. Boom, there's Not a Clever Pony. Hey, we should open up like a Google Drive and start like messing with a song together and collab. Like, how did it all start? Like the community aspect.
It was a little more isolated than that. In this case, like I was doing my thing, and then we all kind of just individually posted to, the general thread on Co.
Right.
As that was updating. And a few people started uploading to YouTube. Started going directly. And I forget who it was that started actually compiling, these songs together at one point. But before we knew it, okay, so let me step back a little bit. At the time, music about MLP was more novel, so it was easier to find not just new songs, but the people who were making them.
Right.
So, being able to collect all these was a lot easier. It wasn't organized inherently, but it was a lot easier to organize. So as the scene grew, like up until summer of 2011, it was kind of like, oh, we got a few people in here, we're doing our thing. The first hiatus between season 1 and 2, when summer hit and school's out and kids are popping in for the first time, they started to get this sense of the kind of material that fans are making for the show, and we started seeing a lot more of that. Once that boom hit, that's where you get folks, by the way, like Alex S, Mike the Microphone, like Tombstone, Jack Left, that kind of thing. And when that started happening, when the scene went from sort of a more pocket niche to this big thing, like big size fandom material, that's about when people started going, hey, let's collab, hey, let's get together, let's do this thing. And I don't remember exactly how it happened. Actually, I think Not a Clever Pony was one of the folks behind My Little Remix, which is still up and operating to this day. Right. But some of the very founding faces and forces of horse music, if you will, really started getting together there. And then I think it was from that we started seeing Skype calls, and oh gosh, the Skype days, the absolute mega calls of like 50 plus people trying to speak over.
Oh yeah,
what?
We've been there.
Yeah. But yeah, it was weird. I think organization came with when the fandom saw it fit to start organizing, which has its benefits and drawbacks. But that was sort of it started organizing once it became necessary.
Right.
Back when Sophisto stopped being a tricksy role player and said, "Oh, by the way, I'm going to do this site that's kind of like Derpy Hooves News. Hope it's all cool." Oh yeah, go for it. I mean, whatever. Go to bed, Seth.
Yeah.
That's not a knock. It's Seth and I are cool. We're good.
Oh yeah, no. Seth is cool. He's been on here before. We get it. So I suppose here's an interesting question, because I know I've personally followed your work, especially when it comes to like some of your remixes of Zed and stuff like that.
Mm.
And what I find really interesting about you is, and compared to a lot of kind of the old guard when it comes to musical artists, is that for a lot of them it was kind of like a phase. They started with, they jumped in either from their previous musical background and then did Pony, and then stopped or began to create a new name for themselves and kind of disown themselves from Pony for one reason or another. And a lot of them said that, well, it looks kind of bad on my resume. So my question to you is, given that how different people have grown using Pony as a starting point for the platform of music or as an enhancement point, how has Pony music in itself enhanced or changed the way that you look at producing music?
Oh gosh, I'll give you the short answer first. Well, no, okay, the short answer doesn't really apply. I need to chew on this for a sec. Well, I will say, okay.
I realize it's a really heavy question.
What I'll say is, it gave me reason to start iterating in smaller doses. Like, instead of focusing on this big completed project first and foremost, I could take, an instrumental snippet and just kind of toy with that and push that around and just kind of have fun with that and then release it. It allowed me to create these little kind of micro projects or full size things out of a very small clip, instead of worrying about the usual Eurobeat structure, intro riff, verse one, pre-chorus, chorus, riff, verse, just that kind of thing. Like, it is down to that. That allowed me to kind of break that rule a little bit and kind of to connect, with a larger fan base than I did at the time. Eurobeat is still niche by design, and that's a whole different rant for quite a few more sips of beer in. But it allowed me not just to start sharing things with a wider audience, but it also gave me a pretty strong source of material just to work with in general. If I can address the whole like, oh, it looks bad kind of thing for a second.
Yeah. Oh no, by all means.
So there's a double edge on that. On the one hand, quite a few people don't necessarily care. From a more business standpoint, a lot of people have trouble with working with those who are based on an established franchise. If someone tried to book Eurobeat Brony for an event, or sign Eurobeat Brony to something that was releasing on something where Hasbro has competitors or something, there's a bit of an issue. Or things like that. Or if they ever wanted to do something with a track that includes copyrighted characters named in there. It's why Discord and Luna on my YouTube channel are actually, no, Luna's not monetized. A couple of, I'm very careful about whichever videos are and are not monetized. Or Hasbro claimed them anyway. It's like, all right, that's your property. That's perfectly fair. On the other hand, and this is a little bit sad, I have heard directly from people who are actually like directly in the industry, like signed to labels and doing stuff, there is a negative reputation. There is like, wow, it's sort of like say that someone built their music career around the Sonic fandom. You would be bringing with you the baggage of the Sonic fandom. Mm-hmm. And, good, bad, Sonic had some pretty great music, but also, there's some things about it that make people uncomfortable. And music, this is not necessarily a death knell. I think like the kinds of connections that some of these artists have made are pretty notable. They're fantastic. Like it hasn't gotten in their way of getting signed to majors or working with artists that are like, excuse me. But it's interesting. I think it depends on the artist's relationship with the show and what they want to do. I think there is some tension between those who want to create whatever they want and feel like fans were kind of holding them to the fandom. There have been attitudes that I don't observe in other fandoms where people feel like people who have contributed musically to the fandom should continue to contribute specifically to the fandom. Mm-hmm. But there is also a strange sense of like wanting to just jump right away and like, oh, can't do it. Oh, we have someone new.
Oh, yep, that's Flam. He's one of our artists. But please continue.
I Oh gosh, I might have. I think I lost. Let me think.
Damn
About
it, Flash,
Right, so
ruined
it doesn't necessarily get in the way. I think people will change their names around or reinvent themselves. They would do that anyway to some extent.
Mhm.
But I think depending on the kind of genre they're getting into, the kind of people they're interacting with, their level of pride in their past work or whatever they might have to do in order to, take what they've worked on to the next level and be able to create what they want, introduces some variety. As for me, I can't really answer for anyone else. As for me, I'm unironically proud of works like Discord and Luna, and even the Luna's Future remix, which got featured in like Car Throttle videos.
Hell yeah!
Yeah, like I'm happy about that, but I can also understand folks that might get frustrated with some of the particular quirks of creating for this fandom. Which, don't get me wrong, I'm extremely grateful for everyone that's been like, oh man, I love this stuff, I love that stuff. But I do notice that there are some unique things for creating for MLPFIM. I think there was a sense of manifest destiny that I just don't notice in, say, other fandoms that I've noticed. Like people that make Toho work, it's like, oh, cool, you're doing something about Gravity Falls, go nuts. Or, oh, you're doing original work, that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
It's complicated. I think
the sentiment that I tend to hear, and the horse pun is intended, it's almost as if at times bronies can look a gift horse in the mouth when it comes to creators and what they're creating.
Kind of, yeah. And
I'm not trying to take your words out of context. Just
no.
What I've observed.
No, that's perfectly fair. And I would say that it is. There's two sides to it. There are some people that most definitely hopped on the Brony bandwagon for the sake of building a repertoire, and they went, "See ya, suckers." And then there are people that have given, spent years of their life making music exclusively for the fandom. It's like, hey, I'm gonna do a couple of original things, or I'm gonna take some time to do something else, and they took some flack for it. Yeah. So it's not so simple as one side or the other. It's part of why I never really formally said, okay, I'm gonna stop making music for MLP now, or I'm leaving the fandom, or anything like that. Because hey, it's been a while since I've caught an episode, but that doesn't mean I don't want to watch it again. I hear season 7 was actually really good.
Oh yeah.
And shoot, I made Luna's Future at a time when I didn't think that I'd be doing more. And I don't want to close that door on myself if I'm inspired by it. Like, I don't know, I feel like people build too much of a binary yes or no, must be or cannot be into this kind of thing. Just make what you want, man. Just do what you're gonna.
Yeah, just make a random Undertale Papyrus Beat song if you want.
We all go through phases.
Nice. All right. Now, we try to make sure we stay very non-controversial, very non-political, and we totally lied to you. It's time to burn some friendships. Who's best pony?
Good question, and it depends on the perspective. In terms of cuteness, Fluttershy without question. Best on what standards, though?
On, favorite, pretty much.
Yeah, favorite. Okay. Favorite is a toss-up between Fluttershy and Applejack. And I know background pony, do they count? But I don't know. In terms of cute, Fluttershy usually. But in terms of actual good characterization, someone that I actually I guess a character that I enjoy watching, Applejack is still pretty high up there.
Awesome. You can stay. We're good. You didn't say rarity. You pass.
She's sort of lower tier. For me, it's a bit like picking a favorite Love Live girl. It's like you're still picking ice cream or like an ice cream flavor at Baskin Robbins. They're all winners. They're all gonna be good. It's just a matter of picking out the best and the worst of them. It's like, oh no, this one's a B plus or an A minus instead of an A plus 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 plus. That is of course letter grades, of course.
Right. Of course.
But it's few of them are bad. Some of them are just better.
Awesome. Well,
have I given you a wishy-washy bullshit enough answer yet?
No. Fine.
Odyssey made us swear on the podcast.
Well, no, we've been nice. We're 25 deep, and we've had some nice, serious, great intellectual discussion. Now it's time to just memify you. And
I think you only said Discord once.
Hey!
I don't know how many Discords that was.
I have a feeling a certain song's gonna come up a lot.
Yeah.
You mean my unreleased remix of Dimitri Vegas and Like Mike's "Let the Night"? Of course.
Yeah.
The first question that we got is out a set of questions from Alex on Discord himself. Who's
Hello.
hanging out with us. But you don't usually, so this is a special exception. Number one,
Ooh.
are you, Odyssey, in fact, currently hallowing at the moon and are sleeping in the middle of a summer afternoon?
For that last part to be true, I would have to be sleep talking to you right now, and that I'm just using up way too much mental power for that to be true. So yes, of course. And the moon isn't currently out, so I can't howl at it at the moment. Someone else on the other side of the planet might have to take care of that for me.
I cannot imagine how much you get shit like this.
It's died down. I remember when I used to get requests for Luna Nyx mode a bit more often than, "Hey, Odyssey! Please!"
Oh my god! All right. Well, then number two is what is your funniest anecdote? What's the story that you tell people at a bar to get a laugh? You know, maybe something really memorable at a con that was just really crazy. Entertain us.
Oh gosh, that's a good question. See, the problem is once you get rid of the Eurobeat stuff, I'm just painfully boring.
Oh no.
Let's see. Well, there is one story that I tend to tell when I'm around general crowds of people. Just an insight into the absolute skullduggery that is my inability to parse what people think or say.
Ooh.
Join me, if you will, back in time to New Year's Day, I'd like to say about a decade ago at this point. You know, still out of high school, still doing some college stuff, but hey, I'm back in town, and hey, some people from high school are still around. I had done, I think it was after at least one of my Super Eurobeat tracks had released. And, you know, hey, we're starting to walk back to our cars and whatnot. My sister was the only one that could drive at the time. And we bump into some folks that my brother and I went to high school with. And she starts talking to me. And she's like, and she's drunk off her rump, just absolutely gone. It's like, what have you been doing? I'm like, I've been doing some music stuff and actually have a song that's out in Japan. That's so inspiring. She now has a hand, you know, sort of reaching towards behind my head. Keep doing that. Okay, yeah, for sure. I plan to. No, you don't understand. She is now intensifying her grasp a little bit and is facing me. You got to keep doing that. Okay, yeah, I plan to. No. She now has a death grip on the back of my skull.
Oh shit!
That is so inspiring. Keep doing that.
Oh my
Time
god.
freezes. I'm going to take stock of this situation. I'm pretty dense. A few years prior, I had a girl put her arm around my shoulder, like we were. I'm getting tongue-tied. Like relaxing together at some point in some sort of group hangout, and I just like, oh, she must be tired. So for me to put this much thought into it means something. So I go, okay. She is clutching the back of my skull, tight enough to where I wouldn't be surprised if there was a little mark in the back of my head. She is staring so deeply into my eyes that I feel like I'm getting laser surgery just looking at her. And she has now pulled herself very oh, okay, is this happening? This is happening! And she goes in for the kiss. And I couldn't really see anything so much as fireworks and the taste of tequila.
Yeah, sounds good, right?
That's probably why I don't much care for tequila. And she lets go, and I'm still just like, I was apparently like half completely limp, just kind of like I sounded a bit like when I was stammering earlier, except the whole time she's like, just keep doing it, okay? And that was a story of how my first kiss was with a drunk girl on New Year's.
Amazing.
Oh wow!
Romance.
Woo! Yeah. But that's one anecdote. I have funnier ones, but I just can't remember them right now.
No, dude, we're cut at the same cloth. Like I started dating my current girlfriend. She kissed me at a party, and I had no idea. She was like, "Oh, so I guess she kisses her friends."
Oh,
So-
like, are we talking on the cheek or like on the lips?
On the lips.
But,
Like, close your eyes.
bruh.
Yeah, no, it was bad.
Bruh.
So don't feel bad.
I don't anymore. I'm giving you grief, man. It's all good. I'm in a place to talk.
Number 3. If your music were edible, how do you think it would taste?
Okay. I have to be careful with this one because I would usually go to, really sugary, but then I think about stuff like happy hardcore, or, J-core or J-pop, and it's like, yeah, it's not that like toothache-inducingly sweet, but it's definitely caffeinated. There aren't a lot of caffeinated foods. I feel like, you know what it would be? It would be the cherry blossom Red Bulls that I had over in Japan.
Oh, that sounds awesome!
They are. There's just enough flavor for it to be really good. It's still perfectly good Red Bull. They're cheap. They're adorable. They're pink, and like that. I think that fits it pretty perfectly. In fact, I think I remember like throwing one of my own tracks on into my headphones while I was drinking one of those. I had a little bit of time to myself, and I played that, and I'm like, everything fits. I know I've done it right when I'm drinking a cherry blossom Red Bull, listening to my stuff, and it all fits into Japan. This is where I belong.
So, do you actually listen to your own music often, or is it something where like you kind of go back and you listen to your old stuff, like, oh god, I've grown so much?
Okay, I have to answer this carefully so as to get the context across. Otherwise, it sounds like, oh wow, way to be full of yourself, dude. What's his face did it better anyway, right? In my case, God. I write stuff that I like. Part of why I make Eurobeat is because I like Eurobeat, and I like how it sounds, and I try to write stuff that I would want to listen to often enough. Mm-hmm. So I will on occasion listen to something that I'm working on or something I just recently finished. Just be like, yeah, I'm proud of this one, or you know what, maybe the next time I do a track like this, I'll change this and this. I'll usually try to mix it in with other tracks in the style, just be like, okay, they're mixing it differently here, this. Usually it's constructive. When I listen to my own work, it's usually with a specific context. Sometimes it's because like, oh man, I'm really proud of my remix of In the Middle. I dig it. I'll listen to that just because I like it. Just because The Middle is a good song and I don't think I destroyed it too badly. Mm-hmm. Like, things like that. But yeah, no, I'm not listening to I dare to deign only what my masterful fingers have crafted kind of thing.
Well, no, I totally understand that. And like, you've done a lot of cool stuff with remixing Zed before too, especially like I believe your contest submission for Spectrum.
Oh yeah, that one.
I downloaded that the day you sent it out. A wonderful remix, just really good.
I just think so, man.
But what I want to interject is because you brought this up a few times in passing, and I know someone's going to probably ask it in the thread. We'll just ask the question and we can move along from it. Okay. Clearly, you made a popular song.
And I know what question this is.
Someone made a remix of it, and it got a few more views.
I'm drinking beer at the moment, so I'll just take the preemptive hit and say we're talking about Discord, right?
Oh, yeah.
Drink. I was to say the name. Say the name.
Yeah. Okay. So what was the question?
So what is your thought process behind this? Like, obviously, I could, for me being a creator, that'd be something that I would take really hard. What I'm interested in is what was your kind of process as it was happening, and even now, how do you handle the situation?
Okay,
because it's a very unique position to be in.
Before I say anything, I want to make one thing particularly clear.
Yeah.
Yoav is an incredibly good person and has been an absolutely stellar sport about this whole thing. I discussed this a little bit, just partially as a joke on my stream a few days ago, and someone was like, "Oh yeah, man, screw Tombstone." I'm like, dude, no. Cut that out. Like, right. He's good at what he does. He's masterful at producing very quickly too, might I add. I envy that. Mm-hmm. And we spent time together. We've hung out. He's an absolutely fantastic person, as down to earth as you could want someone with any kind of level of fame to have. Right. Yoav is legit. Like, let me be first and foremost with that. There will always be frustrations inherent to. Okay. Tombstone getting more views on his remix than my original. As a social media marketer by trade, I don't apply a lot of what I do to my own stuff for various reasons, laziness. But it factors in, like it counts, and I understand how it happened. My frustration has very seldom been with the fact that it got to that point, so much as the general reaction around it. People were very quick to credit Tombstone for the song, and even at the very first, like the first time that BronyCon stopped being a biannual convention, Tombstone would be the first to. I did not make the original. I made the remix. Eurobeat Brony made the original. I have his permission for that accent.
Right.
And like that's the first thing he'll tell you, but people just don't read. They don't care. So for the longest time, I would have people commenting on my video. It's like, yeah, Tombstone did it better. Tombstone did a better job with this. You need to speed this up. This is too slow. My song is 158 beats per minute. Tombstone's is 105.
Yeah.
And the thing for me was the things that I was getting knocked for by fans at the time were things that I couldn't help. The song was already out. And so was Tomb's remix. And you know what? Power to him for what he did. And by the way, like Tomb also was like, hey, you know, the song made a little bit of money. I want to pay you, you know, what it's worth. Let me take care of that, okay? And that worked. That worked out. Like, okay, lost my train of thought. But people are very quick to say, oh, you know, wow, I just completely lost my train of thought. Where was I?
People are very quick to not only give him full credit for the song, but to beat you down for not doing what he did.
And it's like
the other thing to keep in mind is the two songs are also very different genres. Like,
very much so.
Like Tombstone's almost is kind of written like a banger, where yours is more a classical Eurobeat.
Right. And
hindsight bias is a real bitch, ain't it?
And the trick, and part of the trick with this is, I'm just trying to put some of the words together. It's like the kind of feedback that I got, it doesn't help Tombstone. His song is already out. It doesn't help me. I can't go back and make, you know, I'm not going to make a song that's not in the genre that I specialize in unless I want to.
Right.
And Discord, you know, the whole point of the song Discord, the way that I wrote it, was to make an interesting Eurobeat track centered around the villain. In fact, it was supposed to be the sort of follow-up to Luna, which itself was a pretty interesting journey. It's like, well, I'm not going to change what my interpretation of the Discord song is. Take a drink.
Yeah.
I've said it a few times now, haven't I?
Yeah.
I'll start calling it out.
Put down it. Okay. I couldn't really change it. So for the longest time, people were almost adamant about stripping me of credit. Even when the person they were trying to apply it to was like, stop, put it over there. I put it in the title. I put it in the annotations. I put it in the description. No one cares. And I guess the only thing for me looking back on it is I don't think I would have done much differently.
Right.
I mean, Tomb has grown a lot as an artist since then, really built himself out in an interesting way. And I look back and I think, you know what? If I wanted that level of success, or if I wanted to do things in a way, you know, like Tombstone, then I would need to do things. And I would need to do things like that and start promoting and going out and doing the legwork.
Mm-hmm.
So there are frustrations and sad things about it. And, you know, I'll joke about having peaked in 2012 or my career is built on someone else doing it better, but I don't necessarily actually think those things.
Right.
I think I'm actually in pretty good artistic shape at the moment. And, you know, barring some lack of stability just in terms of lifestyle lately, you know, there's some really cool stuff that's coming up on the horizon. It's bittersweet, I guess. All that to say.
Yeah. See, now, this is the type of shit that I love, because now people can relate and they understand that what you went through was a really kind of, it wasn't anything that Tomb did. It wasn't anything that you did. It was almost just sort of this vocal minority promoting a toxic idea.
Yeah.
And it fell victim in a way that it wasn't providing anyone constructive criticism, but it wasn't an on-purpose attack. And it humanizes you, and people are able to relate to you, and now we'll just post more memes at you because you're one of us. This is awesome.
So you had me right up until that last part. I was like, why? Please meme so many other things. I have people have been starting to meme with other songs that I'm in. I'm like, you know what? I'll roll with that. I can deal with that. I don't dislike Discord memes. Take another drink.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm out of my beer. I might grab something once I'm finished with this string of sentences. What was I? Maybe I need to just grab
Memes of your other stuff.
Right. And I don't mind memes about that song. I guess it's in the same way that actually the artist behind the song Gas, 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 Manuel, is actually pretty tired of Gas, Gas, Gas memes. Mm-hmm. He even joked, wait, I can actually see swears on this. I'm not going to, but like, he wanted to write a song, and I'm citing his word here. He's like, if this keeps up, I'm just going to write a song that's called Fuck, 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 because I don't want to deal with this anymore. Granted, I'm saying what he wrote. I'm not necessarily just adding profanity there for the sake of profanity.
Of course.
I'm looking at the chat. Shots! Probably not going to do that, but let me take a step away real quick and grab at least another beer, if not something else.
Sure. Do what you need to do. We'll quickly promote some other stuff.
Right. 1 sec.
Right. So thank you, everyone, for watching this in-depth interview with Odyssey Eurobeat. We're going a little slow on the questions, but I think we've had some really awesome conversations.
We really have, I have to say. This is probably some of the best conversation, in general conversation we've had in quite a while. Not to say that the others haven't provided excellent conversation, but this is just light in depth.
So we've got all sorts of questions still out here in FinFiction we're going to go through, and it's still going to be intense. So get ready for some memes. But until then, be sure to mosey on over to our Discord and join us so that way you can interact with the scene. Oh my god. It sounded like some things happened over there.
Okay, so I don't have any more beer, but I remembered a drink that actually ties into this really well. So, long story short, one of the, I'm tempted to say BronyCon 2014, Mike the Microphone introduced me to a special kind of shot that I would like to share with you all here.
Oh my god.
Oh boy.
Some of you might know it. Okay, so what you do is you take equal parts Fireball and rum chata into a shot. It's called Cinnamon Toast Drunk. Yes. It does not taste like alcohol, and it will absolutely blitz you.
It's amazing.
It really is. And I usually don't like flavored alcohol, if that makes any sense, and it's just so good.
You know, those Cinnamon Toast Crunch commercials will be a lot different with that in them, let me tell you.
The captain would very likely crash the ship a couple times.
Yeah.
The camera crash.
That's Leonard. He's the town drunk. He sees everything. But can you see why kids love Cinnamon Toast Drunk?
It's got the government in it! That's the Lucky Charms!
Someone needs to make this commercial. It has to happen.
It really does. I would fund that.
All right. Next question we got is: are you having a spooky Friday the 13th?
Well, kind of. I mean, I had a job interview before this interview, and the folks that I was supposed to speak to were no-shows.
Oh,
so,
God.
I mean, it could be that they mysteriously vanished. But I prefer not to think that. I think, things happen and miscommunication occurs from time to time. A bummer, but we'll see. Hopefully it's not the end of any opportunities.
Everyone go on Twitter and tweet hashtag fingers crossed for Odyssey, and then tweet at him, and we'll get it trending.
You really don't have to.
Doing it right now.
All right. RK Striker JK5 now has questions.
Okay.
Number one, what is your favorite non-MLP franchise?
Good question. I feel like the answer that I'm required to give is it's a tie between Initial D and Toho. In reality, I haven't really been focused on a lot of franchises lately. Like, there aren't a lot of things that I'm like, yeah, franchise. Just lately, I'll dip my toe in a couple things here and there. A friend started introducing me to Ruby lately, RWY.
Nice.
Ruby's really
I see you're a man of culture as well.
Indeed. It's been a while since I've seen the episodes. What's the name of the, I think lately I've discovered I just really like redheads. What's the name of the redhead in Ruby?
Pyrrha.
Pyrrha's so good.
She is.
Where are you in the series right now?
I'm I'm tempted to say a good bit of the way into season 2.
Okay. Things get a little dusty. Don't worry.
Dusty as in I don't feel so good?
I thought it in my head, and you said it.
That's actually really fucking funny. Damn, you took me by surprise on that one.
I haven't even seen that movie.
You just have your head in your hands right now, like, oh god, I got memed on.
But yeah, like I guess it's still you know what? I've been getting a little bit into League of Legends lore. Like again, going with the redhead misfortune, but also just like kind of dipping into just more of the character stuff behind that. Like I'm still absolute trash at the game, but you know, just looking into just the world stuff behind that is pretty neat, I guess. I don't know if I'd call it a favorite, but definitely one that I'm dipping a toe into lately.
Cool.
Yeah.
The next question is, have you ever used your music as sound-based weaponry to battle the forces of evil?
I once played it while a roommate was attempting to have sex.
Oh my god.
What songs did you try to play?
I don't remember, but what?
Were they relevant?
No, it was just Eurobeat.
Okay.
I mean, it doesn't really matter. I mean, Eurobeat songs are often about sex, but it didn't matter. I mean, it's Oompa, and I just really wanted to basically to prank on my buddy at the time. Like all the best intentions. He was a cool roommate, cool guy altogether, but it was like, hey bud, it's late. I need to sleep. It's late for me, not late for you. If you don't, I'm gonna stay up and do my thing. And he, you know, I didn't actually say any of that, but they were going at it for a while, so I was just kind of like, okay. And they stopped.
I can see in my head just this vision of your roommate and his partner. The partner looks at your roommate friend and goes, "Man, honey, do you think our sex life is getting stale?" And then off in your other room it goes, "Deja vu!"
Oh my gosh!
Yeah, just fucking a deja vu in the distance. Fucking.
Oh, there's a playlist that I could be playing that I could put together if I ever do get roommates again, which fat chance. But I could definitely put together a few fascinating songs of my own and of others that could make that interesting. See, the problem though is if they're fans of it or if they're too inspired by the lyrics, that could just end up being a double, just backfiring awfully.
Yeah, an aphrodisiac.
Yeah.
Right, but
Texting intensifies.
Right, but what could happen is he could start going like the speed of a fucking jackhammer, and that may not end up very well.
Literally, that kind of jackhammer too.
Exactly, especially if you listen to the right Eurobeat song. So.
Oh yeah, there's a few that okay. I would not do to Eurobeat, but I could see a few songs where it's possible. You really got to go for the slower ones, like the 140s, 145 beats per minute. Once you get past 150, like the only thing that could really get close to that is like a hand job. Like no,
honestly,
I mean,
giving a hand job to Deja Vu would be pretty magical. Just
I wouldn't want it to Deja Vu. I don't want Dave Rogers crooning to me doing that. No.
You don't?
No, because there's an artist named Kimmy whose voice is way cuter, and I'd rather hear that.
He could stroke me to the beat of the rising sun.
Oh my god. Okay.
I'm sorry, we can move on.
I'm taking a shot just for that.
Flam, I'm putting the cone on your head. Okay? All right. Shakespeare Please now has questions. We're going to go to number 2 of his. Outside of the music, what are some other parts of the Brony fandom that you enjoy?
Good question. And it's kind of a cheap answer on my end, though I will say that I've had some run-ins across the board. I've generally had pretty good experiences with the games side, like folks that'll mod games or make games.
Oh yeah.
For those who have forgotten, a lot of my work was chosen for the early Luna game, sort of horror jump scare kind of games.
Oh yes.
And you know, while that's not necessarily my reason for it, I just kind of like, oh wow, they can really create some cool stuff out of that. Or, you know, I was never really super big on fan fiction, though some of the early stuff was interesting. And I vaguely remember one where there was like a griffin running a restaurant and Pinky was one of the employees, and she was kind of struggling, but someone was actually like being a dick to her, and he's like, you got guts, kid. You got gumption. Maybe this isn't the place for you. Not that you're bad at it, just not for you. And I found it really weirdly compelling, even though I don't like pursue fan fiction really. Just there were a couple of things in particular that stood out to me. But yeah, the game community and some of the very earliest fan fiction stuff. I also knew a handful of the artists. Like for a little while, I was in better conversation with Raikasu, who drew the blobs, the chubbies.
Mm-hmm.
We've kind of lost contact, but I have not for any amount of ill will. It's just kind of we just went different ways and started doing our own thing.
Oh yeah, and it happens. Like
yeah.
I think I've been doing fan fiction and varied related things in this fandom for just a little over 5 years, almost. I think.
Should I be saying that I don't really interact with fan fiction over on something that's largely getting questions from femfiction.net? I just realized the issue with that.
Actually, no. It's actually totally fine.
It is.
We have people that have never read a fan fiction before. We just use this because it has a forum.
Yeah, we get
fair enough.
Yeah, we get a bunch of people who don't write fan fiction, don't read fan fiction, or previously wrote fan fiction, are just staying around to hang with people too. So
that's fair. I just didn't want to pull a Joey Tribbiani and like right when he's getting interviewed for soap opera magazine, he's like, "Do you watch soap operas?" No, I got a life. Like I don't want to put something like that.
No.
That's actually what we do. So, what do you write fan fiction? Fuck no, I got a life. No,
I wrote one. I wrote like a short fic way back in like season 3 about like, I think it was something to do with like Spike being burned out, and there's some communication like Twilight finally said thanks or something, and he's like, you know what, it's good, just like it's all good. It was really bad. I should not be permitted around fan fiction or indeed text for any kind of third-party franchise writing in a creative stance. But I'm not averse to it. It's just not really a field that I'm immersed in.
Oh yeah, no, totally do not blame you. Number 3 from Shakespeare-Cleese is a bit off the wall. Is your song Discord?
Yeah.
Is it actually sung from the point of view of Luna, and Discord is trying to pull out her tampon? I don't understand either.
I read this question beforehand. I am reading it now. I just don't know how to answer it. You see, right up until that last part, it's like, no, actually it's, and then there's that last part, it's like,
oh.
Yes.
People can read into things whatever they want, just because I wrote things with a certain viewpoint.
Please, that's what he meant. Okay.
Yeah,
Someone else is pulling up. Fuck you.
But that's just a theory, a song theory.
Thanks for what?
That's right.
Immediately demonetized.
In a world, one man, one horse. No, wait, no. Oh God.
Yeah.
One man, one horse.
One tampon.
Oh, why?
You can now find this wonderful content over on BarcastPodcast.com.
It
doesn't exist.
Okay, Discord was actually supposed to be from the perspective of a citizen of Ponyville during those shenanigans when he took over. Yeah, like, I really wouldn't read too much further into it. I mean, the most I could say is, like, maybe they, the folks that were affected are like, hey, we're gonna fight back, so those 6 that keep doing the same thing over and over don't have to do it.
But when you reference the moonlight,
anyway.
Did it reflect your current state of mind?
Oh my gosh.
The
I don't
English
have any
teachers have to
moonshine,
know.
but I could. I don't have any moonshine, but I could.
In which we do a deep psychological analysis of
Why were the walls blue? What did that symbolize?
What? Is that actually in one of my songs?
No, I'm just
being
facetious.
See, the problem is you can't do that. I have too many songs, so I have to think about, like, wait.
Calculating it. Shit, what the fuck is that? What the fuck?
When did I write about that? People have reminded me of songs that I've done. I have a super fan named Pal.
Yeah.
who said, "Oh, I really love your song, Spinning in Circles." I'm like, wait a minute, what are you talking about? So way back, there was a fundraiser for an artist named Pounce. And people were trying to raise money for medical bills, and I contributed a song called Spinning in Circles. And I forgot about it. I think I played it at like 1 or 2 shows, and that was it. I think like the first TrotCon I played it. And felt good. And now she comes up with like, "Hey, I really like the song." Like, what are you talking? Oh, that is a deep cut. Like, we're talking deeper than I remember. And I don't know. It was a neat song. I could have stood to have learned to have mixed better back then, but it was like, oh, that's neat.
If you forgot about it, suppose someone played it like on a speaker, would you immediately recognize it?
Probably not immediately. How do I say? I'd be able to recognize that it was mine, but I would not be able to recognize. Okay, I wouldn't be able to recognize which song it was until the riff.
Okay, so you wouldn't pull a Steven Tyler who forgot like 10 years of his life because he did so much fucking cocaine that when he heard a song on the radio, he tells the rest of Aerosmith like, "Oh fuck, this is amazing. We need to do a cover of this." And Rick looks at him and he's like, "That's us, you fucking idiot."
Yeah, that's why I just stick to caffeine. Like, I can barely deal with any kind of illicit substance. Like, caffeine's more than enough for me. Like, I live in California. You'd think that I'd be doing a lot more weed. Not so much. Like, I tried CBD earlier this year, but like even that's just like that's a limit.
Oh yeah. No, drugs aren't for everyone.
Don't do illicit drugs
legally and responsibly.
Yes. And if you are ever at a festival, test your drugs. Talk to the people at the med tent if you have something going wrong. I don't do drugs at festivals or anything like that. I actually prefer them mostly sober.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I can't. No forgetfulness from cocaine from me. At least not for a while.
Yes. Speaking of drinking and Discord, the next question is: are we your prey alone, or are we just a stepping stone for taking back the throne?
Goddamn.
Discord.
I have an answer for this in just as much of a non sequitur. There's an artist named Psychosis who made a version of my song that I think really elevates the intended expression to full-fledged like museum-ready art.
Oh wow.
And it's called "I'm Not a Fan of Puppeteers," and I need to pull it up so I can show you what I mean.
Ooh.
It's let's see. So listen to anyone. That's the one. I think it's on SoundCloud. So when you hear this, it may be hard to understand, but listen to it all the way through, and I really feel like it'll reach you where it matters. Yes, here we go. It already has 73,238 plays.
Wow.
I've gone ahead and posted in the chat here.
Go ahead and post that there.
Discord.
Go ahead and play it quick for a section of it for the Twitch chat.
Wait, me or who?
Or no, Milk, who's streaming right now.
Yeah.
Play a little bit of it.
I feel like Psychosis really took the essence of what I was gunning for and made it perfect. Like, this is the song that I think I had in my heart, even if it wasn't in my head at the time.
Wow. Okay. This is intense. It's really good job.
Right? Just really distills the experience in a way that I think really speaks more to the soul. I opened a set with this and it was so good.
This is
genius. It is absolute genius, and it reflects Psychosis perfectly.
I just feel like I want to break. Like, this is I want to go to bed at night sleeping to this, staring at the ceiling and realizing that we've dumped 5+ years of our lives into ponies. And just this.
It's all come to a head with that.
You want to know the real kicker?
What?
This artist now works at Sega.
Oh my god!
Yep.
Amazing.
I could not be prouder of him, and honestly, like he's easily earned it.
Damn,
Like,
life just gotta go fast.
that
Exactly.
gives me
Rolling around at the speed of sound.
It gives me.
Yeah, he's
hope
got
for the
places to
future
go,
of
like
Smash Bros.
Sega. He's gotta follow that
Exactly. Yeah.
All right, we're gonna go to Hawthorne Bunny,
Right.
who asks if you could get any of your music played by a real orchestra, which would you choose and why?
Luna and a certain song that shares a name with the current chat service on which we are speaking.
Oh, Discord.
I hate
Skype.
you.
Oh, drink.
Skype.
No, we wouldn't have a conversation for this long if it was Skype.
I forget where we are. Is it TeamSpeak? What are you talking about?
Ventrilo.
Yeah, Ventrilo.
Ventrilo. That's gonna be the next banging Odyssey song. Ventrilo,
Yeah.
covered by Zed. Sorry.
I would not mind. If anything I did got covered by Zed, I'd be pleased as punch.
All right. Let's see. Number 2. Is there a food that you like that other people usually don't like?
Not particularly. My taste buds are pretty bland in comparison. I tend to like a lot of stuff that other people like. I'm trying to think of one. Okay, so spinach and broccoli get a bad rap, but that's usually because they're prepared poorly.
Right.
Like, if you've ever taken, like, baby spinach leaves and just thrown them on a heated pan, and then taken that and just eaten the result after you've kind of softened it a bit, it tastes buttery and savory and just incredible. It's really good. And broccoli, when prepared not too squishy or not too crunchy, is actually really good.
It's
Like,
good with
right in
gravy.
the middle. What?
With gravy, it
Ooh.
soaks up all the juice.
I've
There you
never
go.
tried it with gravy. I should.
Little top tip.
Yeah. Life hacks.
Broccoli life hacks. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, I guess those would be my candidates for that.
Sweet. What do you think of them's fighting herds?
I'm proud of it. I remember when it was Fighting is Magic, and I'm proud of the way they were able to overcome the cease and desist. Well, I understand Hasbro needing to defend its property in that sense, and, you know, the representation of, oh, I just saw Fluttershy beat the crap out of Twilight Sparkle, mommy. I'm also really proud of the fact that they were able to get Lauren on board and create not just a generally good fighting game from what I understand, but also just a good game in general. Like, some of the things they've been able to swing and some of the reception that it's had is really good. Like,
Yeah.
I understand it hasn't taken off, like, to go full-on viral, but people are like, it was a good game! You wouldn't remember. It was a good game! Kind of thing.
Yeah.
Thank God someone got that. But yeah, I'm proud of it. If I remember right, Rainbow Crash '88 was still able to contribute to the soundtrack, and that's
Yes.
Yes.
very
Especially
RC88?
after all the things. Yes, especially after everything that he did for the Fighting is Magic original soundtrack.
yeah, and honestly, that's fantastic. Like, power to him.
The next question, speaking of video game soundtracks, what is your personal favorite video game soundtrack?
Oh boy, depends on the mood.
Toho
I feel like-
games.
Honestly, not too far off. Okay, because it's a hard one because there's so many good ones. The Toho series has really good soundtracks. Initial D, obviously. DDR, like, honestly, that counts. I've been getting back into that. Like, while I'm between jobs, I'm starting every day with a couple of rounds of Stepmania. I'm sorry, legit copy of DDR. And it's really kind of fun just to listen back to what was big in the 90s, early 2000s. And, like, there was some fun stuff in there. It depends on... Oh, and if we're counting non-Dancey Dance kinds of games, Golden Sun had really fantastic music.
Yeah.
Like, JRPGs and soundtrack, you can't have a JRPG and have a crappy soundtrack. That just doesn't happen.
It's true.
And Golden Sun, stellar game, stellar soundtrack. I never got to play the third one. I'm kicking myself for that.
There's always time, my friend.
Yeah, that would mean getting a 3DS, and I could just get a Switch, and if I got another console, I already waste too much time as it is. I would never write another lick of music again. I would just play Mario Odyssey all the time.
You know, on the other hand, Well, I mean, then you could become a Mario Odyssey YouTube channel. Like, I mean, I guess it kind of works out.
What's up, everybody? This is Odyssey, playing Mario Odyssey again. Remember to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell, subscribe on our Patreon, subscribe on our Patreon, subscribe on our Patreon. I just couldn't.
God damn it. God damn it.
Oh my god.
Actually, wait. Well, let me see if I can. There's one thing that might just contribute to this. Do I still have it installed? Yes! Okay, so it's like, can we create that jump? I believe we can. Oh, we just did.
Yes!
Yes.
Pencil's gonna be so mad when she listens to this.
Oh.
Yes! God, I love MLG edits. They're terrible, and I love them for that.
We need a soundboard, guys.
Yes.
I think we know on several occasions why we shouldn't have a Barcast soundboard. I fucking know it. I'd just be clicking the fucking loudest
orgasm. Yeah.
Teasing it for like 2 years. I want this now.
All you need is
Alright.
like to take the last 5 seconds and just like bass boost it, just like
Boy, like destroys the speakers.
exactly.
So the next poster submitted this as a question, which I'm sure you've probably seen before.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna flip this around a little bit, and I'm gonna ask, what makes playing a pony convention different from a different type of EDM show that you may play?
Not gonna lie, I haven't played a lot of different shows. PonyCons are sort of my bread and butter. I did play YomaCon a few years back. I'm tempted to say about 3 years ago. And how do I say? With PonyCons, especially in my case, though I do try to design them to, do something new every time, there are expectations. And, good expectations, bad expectations, that's for another day. Or for maybe a few more shots. But generally, they want your hits, they want pony music, and they want something they can dance to. With YomaCon, I did end with Discord, but not because I felt like people were expecting it, but because I think it's a good song. I think that was also the only pony song I played. I also played Luca Luca Night Fever in memory of Sam Free, who passed away that year. I played other Eurobeat songs. I think I dropped some like dubstep just because like, oh hey, I can actually put these two songs together and that sounded good. And I'm like, oh man, all right, the crowd's really going. How much time do I have left? 3 minutes. Okay, let's end with Discord. And it went over well. People didn't expect me to grab the mic and start singing, but people were like, wow, that actually worked out pretty cool. I got to thank my buddy Boschfire for getting me that gig, by the way. Like he helped me secure that. But with PonyCons, it's not just expectations. There's also a sense, a lot of other conventions, I think, the artists that are getting booked, now I feel like this might be a different thing. Pony music versus the kind of music that gets played at concerts. Like at other cons, it's a dance, it's a rave. But with general conventions, they feel like they've had to extend an olive branch to acoustic acts, who I do believe seriously get shafted a lot at these things.
Oh yeah.
But I also feel like if you're not playing something very fast and energetic, like dubstep, Eurobeat, metal, rock in general, even like even the slower BPM acts have to have some kind of energy, because that's what people have come to expect from PonyCon shows, which is a shame, because the kinds of artists we could have had if early on we could have established that, maybe there's some acts for sitting down and for listening and taking it in. Classical acts. People that are doing more stuff that's more like film scores. Philly Poo didn't originally make EDM, but he branched into that at around about the right time for one year's BronyCon. And, he played piano for some of his set, and then he played EDM for some of his set. And because the concert was generally expected to be oriented around danceable stuff, the EDM parts went really well, which is a shame, because I feel like people didn't respect his piano playing very well, or as much as they could have. Or, we could have more artists providing something fascinating, maybe even like a room for people to sit down and relax at cons, and it wouldn't have to be like a concert, or if it was, then we could just have this entirely different perspective. Not to say that, concerts nowadays are bad, but that's one thing that I feel like the way that the fandom and concerts developed could have developed better. But other cons versus pony cons, I feel like there's specific expectations for the kinds of content and the energy level of content.
Right.
Put it another way, I would not be as severely lynched for not playing Luna in Discord at any other convention
Drink.
versus a BronyCon. Yep, I know. I know. I know what I'm getting into. So don't be sorry. Don't be sorry. I'm not sorry for saying it.
No,
Paying
I think
attention now.
it's really true because like one of the things that I observed when I went to, I think it was a con that Ponyville Live pretty much put on. And
Yeah.
they had this big event. I think the Creepers came out and played, and they had DJ Tetsuo, Ludwig Beats, Killscreen, Ludi, and all sorts of pony DJs. And like one of the final acts, I think, of one of the nights that I went and listened to was Ad Subtractive, who
Adsub. Yeah.
and I don't think he played a single pony song that night, but every single fucking song was a banger, and his transitions were flawless. And there was like literally 4 or 5 people watching, and I just felt like that was a crime. Like it was so good. It was so good.
Okay, there's a couple of complications with general DJs versus producers in the scene and the expectation at pony cons. Sorry, I didn't want to necessarily cut you off.
No, by all means, please. I that was all I had. I'm
Okay.
interested in your input.
So, Adsub and Ludi, for the record, absolute bosses, stellar human beings. Did I ever tell you that I don't do a lot of drinking outside of things like this? I have a feeling I'm a little further in than I usually am.
Are you having a good time?
I'm having a really good time, baby.
Good.
How you doing?
If there's anything that you're like, oh god, I can't believe I said that, we can cut that. So don't worry.
Discord.
Yo. Hey! Hey! That doesn't count. That is gaming the system. Yo, no. All right. Anyway. So DJs entering the system had a very different situation. With the way that this particular fandom developed, there was a sense of ownership and pride to the music. Not to say that it didn't necessarily exist elsewhere. I feel like the furry fandom has some element of this. There's a lot of, furry specific artists. But, as I said, there's an expectation for pony content to some extent. So when you have DJs coming in, not necessarily producers, not to say they can't, just, their strength is putting together a general set. And they aren't as aware of some of these rules and expectations. Some of their earlier sets can get kind of demolished because they didn't cater to that. And it's a shame because Adsub is absolutely beast. So is Ludi. And they can play killer song after killer song after killer song. But one, they tend to play at certain times in the night where people are done kind of for the evening, or if it's late enough at night, people have gone to bed kind of thing, or they've gone out to, another kind of party, or, they haven't, early on anyway, they weren't aware that people like, there's not enough pony in this. Like even at High Roller PonyCon this last year, or just a few months ago, apparently the critique was that there wasn't enough pony. And while I'm extremely proud of the set that I put together, I played a mashup of Night of Fire and the Skrillex remix of Humble, but I also played pony music. And I worry, I'm not necessarily, I can't really vouch for the sets of other people, not because, they're good or they're bad or whatever, but I kind of look after my own, and I try to think about if I'm playing enough for the con, enough pony music for a pony con. And I feel like DJs, or, by trade, the folks that, DJ for a living, maybe that's their first focus, and then production might be, a little further down, which is totally valid and fine. I feel like they are in a tight spot because they might see including Brony music not necessarily as an obligation, but I would hope that at best they'd see it as like a creative challenge, because there is some good stuff out there. Some of the folks that are playing BronyCon this year are absolutely fantastic at what they do. But also, like, some of those songs, well, they're there now, so that cuts a good chunk of what I would have played. Like, for DJs, I feel like there's... The question of balance is more imminent for them. And when you have an act like Ludi Von Beats or Adsub, the artistry might fall to those who are there for ponies, which sounds, in an artistic sense, a little bit like it's robbing the integrity of the moment or the performance they're putting together. But on the other hand, they are at a pony convention, so I can understand that frustration. Like, I can be frustrated. I get that moment of artistry where it's like, you just don't understand. I'm creating an experience for you. Twitch in place, beret on head. But, you know, there's also moments where, like, you're at a pony con, there's an expectation of pony music. Play a couple pony songs.
Yeah.
Give
the people what they want. Give what they came out for.
More or less. Like, I feel like compromising might be a poor word choice, but, you know, a sense of, what's the word I'm looking for? Just concession? Like, hey, I know why we're here. Here's this. But also, here's this that I can do that might not be exactly, you know, what you're expecting. And that's part of what I'm trying to do for my set at BronyCon this year. Like, I'm trying to mix. I have a little bit more time than usual. That's so much as I can disclose. And I want to fill that time not just with, you know, pony music. Not that what I say next is mutually exclusive to it, but stuff that people wouldn't expect from me, but would still work with the tempo and the energy and still be an Odyssey, like a full-on Eurobeat Brony set. And I feel like it's a challenge, not that not everyone is up to, so much as not everyone feels like they should feel obligated to meet, you know?
Right.
It's an interesting position. All that to say, Ad Sub and Ludi are absolute beasts. Tetsuo is also good at what he does, but I haven't seen him around as much.
Right. And what Killscreen is adding from the chat.
Oh, shoot! Is he here?
Oh, yeah.
Whoa!
He says, there's also something to be said about the actual act itself. For example, Garnica. Garnica is pretty universally loved, but never played pony at con.
Yeah. Like, he did have some pony songs, but I feel like that was when he was just starting to touch on production. And
Right.
My boy, Kevin, has grown so severely as a producer. Severely, it's a bad word choice. Like, he's grown a lot since then. And I feel like his pony stuff, or the stuff that he made when he was more interested in producing, you know, willingly and unencumbered for pony, doesn't reflect where he is and where he's gone as a producer. So I feel like for his set, you know, and granted, I'm not saying I know what's best for his set, because dude has DJ'd longer than I've known what to do with my 2 or 3 buttons that do play and sync.
Everyone's going to have different stylistic differences.
Right. Like, I think the most that I could ever say that he could ever do differently would be to add, like, a pony song or 2. Like, that's the most that anyone could ever ask for from him. Like, and even then, like, his sets are so good. I have yet to see Garnica play a set that didn't go off. Like, people are always jumping and moving, like, oh my gosh, this is the best set of my life. This is so inspiring. You have to keep doing this.
Like more bass boost.
Needs more pony. But, like, I have yet to see one where people aren't just, the entire crowd isn't moving, like, except for maybe the folks that, like, physically can't, and even then they're just kind of, like, lifting themselves up from their arms and kind of setting themselves back down rhythmically. Like, they're trying. Like, I have yet to see a set that boy plays that does not go all the way off. Also, Alex, or Andromulus, like, my boy, like, he is headline material.
Oh, yeah.
Like, every set that he's played, PonyCon, regular show, I got to see him play a set. Sorry, this is me after a couple drinks. I got to see him do a set, like, just on his own. Actually, Taps was at the same show as well. Like, they played sets at a regular venue in SoCal, and they both just killed it.
Yeah.
And don't get me wrong, I'm not going to knock PonyCons for this.
Oh, yeah.
The stuff that they played and the level that they played it at was way more, and it was, like, way more than they could have gotten away with the expectations set by PonyCons. And that's not saying that those expectations are bad at all. But I think it's different strokes for different venues.
Right.
You know, at a regular club, like, go nuts, do your thing, man. Like, that's where you can really light up.
Yeah.
Like,
There's also,
PonyCons. Good.
not to put words in your mouth. There's also something to be said about the venue itself. Like keeping in mind with these hotels, they're dealing with whatever audio equipment they could get, where the club purchased all of its equipment specifically for music and for playing cool music.
That's true to a point. I will mention that some of the cons that I've been playing at, there is a sound tech named Larsis, who is both an audiophile. He actually knew some of the products that came from the place that I used to work.
Shit.
Yeah,
We
Larsis-
know Larsis.
Dude, Larsis is an audio god. Like, securing some of the stuff for the last I can hear myself on stage. And that makes a universe of difference. When I'm doing vocals, like all the other DJs get to party till 3 every night. I'm like, my voice gets cold without a sweater. I need to go to bed at 4:11. And like, it sucks because I can't party and do fun things. And then even after the show, my voice is gone. It's like, take it up one. But after a set where Larsis is on the soundboard, I can hear myself. I sing better. And afterwards, I'm like, let's go. Let's drink. Full voice. Everything is good. Like, I don't usually get to party before my sets anyway. I learned that from past sets. But like, Lars, gotta toss a shout out to my boy. Like, he can secure some equipment that is absolutely nuts. The setup at High Roller Pony Con was insane. Just so good.
All right, Milk, you're gonna throw things at Lars now. We're gonna get him on. We're gonna talk music.
Please do. Yo.
We're gonna do it.
He's probably got some dirt on me. They're not doing but
We're gonna get him drunk and make him talk about Discord.
Hey!
Drink.
Hey!
All right, we got a handful of more questions for you from the thread.
There's like 70 more questions.
There's so
Oh,
many.
let me get some water. Oh, wait, no, I have some right here. We're good.
Let's do like 2 a minute. Just
Okay, I'm gonna crunch through these here. What do you think of the changeling design change? Do you prefer the bug pony style, or do you like the new gay deer?
fucking
Oh, whoa. I haven't seen the episode with the gay deer yet.
No!
I'm a bad fan. I want to get back into it, but how do I say? My schedule since becoming between jobs is more busy actually than when I had a day job. So I don't really have a lot of time to watch the show, but I do want to catch up and I do want to see that. So for now, simply by default, bug ponies.
Okay, fair enough. I'm gonna try and grab one from each person, and then I'll come back around and loop that way. Super Trampoline has a question for you.
Yeah.
Is there any chance that you can release the MIDI for Batty? I'm trying to arrange an a cappella version of it for my group. I learned a lot from looking at the stems for Luna.
Oh, I know who this is. Okay, so I need to, the key is I need to figure out how and when and where. Like, I absolutely can. I would just need to, there's a couple of clicks that I would need to do in Logic Pro, and that's very much doable.
Oh, yeah.
It would just be tricky. And also, it very likely wouldn't contain the melody for, like, the vocal melody for, okay, those bells are like a passerby ice cream person. I would just need to find a way to implement that. But I tend to create some vocal lines on the spot if I don't already have an idea for it. So there is a chance. I just need to 1, remember, 2, do it, 3, publicize it. I feel like I should take a few of my more notable like songs to which I own publishing, meaning none of the Ken Blast material, sadly, get the MIDI and just put it somewhere. And just be like, hey, these are free. If you want to work with the stems, maybe those will cost money. But shoot, remix content, go nuts.
Make yourself passive-aggressive post-it notes to yourself. It'll work.
No, by all means, take your time. That's not a bad idea. Shoot, maybe I should do like remix contests for like older songs like Luna and a certain song that shares a name with the service that we're using to communicate. I swear to God, if you say it. Anyway, I can stand to do that. Ventrilo, exactly.
Ventrilo.
Yeah, Ventrilo harassment compilation 5. Hit the bell.
Drink,
Notification.
just drinking word, Ventrella.
Hey, is it really? Oh, I clicked away from the Twitch for a second. Quick question in the chat. I'm not getting grading at this point, am I?
Oh, I think you're fine. This is
Nah,
this is a lot of fun.
this is a lot of fun.
Yeah.
We're at a solid B+ right now.
Woo! Second
Usually-
best. That's what I like doing best.
It's kind of funny because if you go back and listen through some of the iTunes and like the YouTubes, you can tell which ones are the bad ones. This is a good
Oh
one.
no.
Trust.
Good. Like,
All right. The next question we're going to grab is from Rundown Jet. You're a music person, so you got to have an answer for this. Number 5, what is the theme song for your sex life?
I prepared an answer for this. So the one that represents that best is John Cage's 433. It's not for the length of time so much as the actual content of the song.
Oh, huh.
Oh.
Yeah, I feel like that represents it best.
Huh.
Yeah, so y'all do some research and understand that, and you'll perfectly understand how that represents my sex life.
Oh, okay. Well,
Nothing has
cool.
beaten Beat It yet. Beat It's still the best answer we ever got.
What's the song that's like, I want to fuck you like an animal?
Oh,
Yeah, can we get security? That's not my song for the record.
that's closer to God by 9 Inch Nails. All right.
Bestiality is illegal, folks. Folks, don't do it.
We're going to grab a question from Drolafraferg.
What the fuck?
That's how it's pronounced.
All right, let me
And
prepare the shot. I see the question.
yeah, I'm going to grab that one. Why did you decide to make that song? And what kind of inspired you to make Discord?
Okay, so a
Drink.
few different elements. Did they say the name?
Yeah, he did. He said
Yes.
the name of the character.
Oh, yeah, okay. Okay, so this song was the follow-up to Luna in quite a few different ways. Also, at the time, a common critique of my work was that everything kind of sounds the same. I was doing a lot of Italo-disco flavored stuff, which I think was okay, but people were like, hey, here's how you make a Eurobeat Brony song. You take a tempo between this and this, and you have this instrumentation, then you're done! That's about all there is to it! I'm like, hey, so that was actually around about the same time that I released Luna Jazz Mode, which I'm still pretty proud of.
Okay.
But it also sounded like it also sounded like elevator music. And I was already toying with the idea of what kind of song would represent this character. What would that sound like? And I even posted on YouTube a few different drafts of what that could be. Like I did one that was a little more silly. I did one that almost sounded like a song out of goodness, what's that? Death Smiles, which is that horizontal bullet hell shooter from Cave. And it sounded kind of like that. And I went with none of them. And I'm like, you know what? I need a song that changes genres midway through because that's the kind of character this character is. And I toyed with that, and I was awful at all those genres. There's a reason I remade so much of it in 2015. But I felt like it represented his character really well. And the thing with this was I wanted to make a song that followed up on Luna in general, partially for the criticism, partially because, hey, Luna was the first one that I did that had lyrics and vocals that were my own.
Right.
In fact, Luna was very scary because at the time, we were still dealing with /co, and my understanding of 4chan was you post something cringy or crappy, and people laugh at you, then they dox you to hell and back.
Yeah.
So, oh god, oh god, oh god! Oh, they like it. Oh, they like it a lot. Okay. Also, fun fact about Luna, Nightmare Mode is the definitive version, not Dream Mode. Dream Mode just took off because I think people don't like Screamo, but I've wanted to do Screamo in a Eurobeat song since Cupcakes was released. Like, when I did my remix of Cupcakes, I wanted to do it there, partially as reference to how utterly messed up the fanfiction was.
Right.
Kind of as a reference to that, but I realized, one, I didn't much care for the fanfiction. Two, the idea of Nightmare Moon lent itself better to Screamo, I think, and in a way that I could get away with it, kind of, because I still had this kind of squeaky clean social media presence, which, other than today, I've generally been pretty good at keeping up. And Luna Nightmare Mode was a really good place for it. And the reason that it's all screamo at the end was like, well, sometimes you can't tell a dream is a nightmare until you've listened to it all the way through, until you've had it all the way through, and right at the very end. So Discord had some pressure put on it from Luna. It's like, okay, how do I make something that's new, original, but also reflects the character really well? And after a few months of false starts and different versions, I was like, okay, so this song sounds pretty good. I'm going to put it out there, and it just kind of exploded. And that's the story of Get Your Drinks Ready, Discord.
Oh,
Wait.
you said the same. No, but actually, genuinely, I could hug you for Nightmare Mode. I remember
would
when
hug
I
you
was
either way.
listening to early pony music. I hadn't heard anything like that, and being the crazy metal fanatic that I am, seeing someone do that in a song, it was something I hadn't experienced before. It's like, I need more like this, and there was nothing.
Dude, like, first of all, thank you. Like, I always appreciate when people can recognize that in Nightmare Mode. Like, so many people are like, oh, I love Luna, except for that last part. Or like, oh, I love Luna. I don't remember it ending that way, though. It's like, because you only listen to the one. And the wrong one. There's not really a wrong one. I'm just not sober. Like,
That's good. That's fitting.
I've always wanted to do something like that. And the existence of metal in the Eurobeat world is fascinating because the lead singer of Rhapsody did Eurobeat. Another singer that's in a power metal band did Eurobeat, Roberto Tiranti. And, you know, there's always been this little flavor of metal, or people that did metal were generally aware of Eurobeat in strange and surprising ways. That's part of why the ending of Nightmare Mode is so power metal flavored, like the double bass pedal.
Yeah.
And I felt like it included Nightmare Moon in a more compelling way than Dream Mode ever could have, or any song about Luna had prior at the time.
It was just way more daring than what the scene was putting out in my opinion. Okay, I'm realizing that this is just basically like this entire podcast has just been me like sucking your dick, it sounds like. But it's not like it was intended to.
I mean, I'm not going to complain.
I'm just trying to like respect your musicianship, which
I appreciate
I mean, someone could easily bring you on and be like to a pony podcast, and be like ponies, 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 and no, it's about a respect to the craft. So,
dude, respect for approaching it from that angle too. Like, don't get me wrong, I'd be okay with a podcast that's like going around with the pony angle, but like if you're coming at it from a musicianship thing, well, that means that you're putting in a lot of respect, and that actually does. I do value that.
how dare you say nice things to us? Fuck you. We're going to the next question because it's time for questions with Mylon. Alex, do the jingle.
Oh god. Oh god. Oh
Oh
god.
boy,
It's time for questions with Final.
it's time to.
Cool.
See, he did better.
Ends with the Windows edit song.
I can't match Pencil's high notes.
Mylon usually comes on and asks the most distressing questions, but there is only, how are you today?
Today's going okay. You know, other than the whole like interview thing, like the job interview that didn't go well, today's going okay. Like, I mean, I'm a few shots in, so today's going pretty good. maybe a little bit my story will change, but for now things are going fantastic.
All right, then we're gonna jump down a little bit to Tony Montana, who starts by asking, what other genres of music do you like other than Eurobeat?
Really good question, and my answer is kind of wishy-washy until I get to actually explaining it.
I listen to everything but country and rap.
Oh gosh, no. I used to be that basic. Like, I used to have, okay, it's not the Ugg boots and pumpkin spice latte that you have in your hand. It's the boots and pumpkin spice latte that you have in your heart.
Oh my
And I used to be that. But there is some rap that's really good. There's some country and like especially bluegrass. Oh my gosh, the musicianship of bluegrass is insane.
You and Ludi and bluegrass. Okay, have you heard Fleck and the Fleck Tones?
Dude, my dad's a bass player. Of course I grew up with Bela Fleck.
Oh my
and the
god,
Flecktones.
and Victor Wooten. Okay.
Yes! Oh my gosh!
And Marcus
Yes.
Miller?
Oh my gosh, yes!
Okay.
That's like half my childhood!
Did you know that Victor Wooten did a song with a progressive metal band called Octavarium?
Yes.
Okay, it's really fucking good. Anyway,
My dad got lessons from Kai Eckhart.
okay.
Oh
God.
A little bit lesser known, but certainly knew his stuff. And one thing that my dad is sort of applauded for is playing a style not expected for a dude as pale as he is.
Mm-hmm.
Like, my dad and I do not get a lot of sunlight, but my dad can play in a way where people are like, dude, we did not expect that from you. And I'm trying to stay relatively uncontroversial, but like, my dad can play bass pretty friggin' well. And part of that is growing up with listening to what he listened to, which included Bela Fleck and the Flecktones, like Sinister Minister, and like Marcus Miller. Oh gosh, who was it that was it Marcus Miller that did that cover of Teen Town? Like I used to wake up to that.
It could be Marcus because he does so many covers. Like he did Higher Ground, and he did Frankenstein. He loves to cover stuff. Oh my god, we're just gonna talk about music all past.
Yes, it's still like 100 questions. You're just talking about music.
But yeah, like, gosh, okay. For me, it's less about genres and more about like musicianship in general. Like, I love power metal. I love soul. Like, I grew up on Earth, Wind, and Fire, Kraftwerk, Oingo Boingo. Like, dude, like before I liked Eurobeat, I liked Oingo Boingo and everything Danny Elfman put out. Like, my dad grew up on Devo, and he likes Devo a lot. And he's like, oh man, I got this Devo tape. Let's listen to that. And it's like, okay, this is pretty cool. And then I heard Boingo, and I'm like, oh my gosh, there's something unusually beautiful, dark, and lush about this. And then, some of the later stuff, Danny started flexing his more orchestral side of things at the expense of the brass section. But even a lot of my friends in high school were really into Boingo. And for a little while before we were our own band, we basically just played covers of Oingo Boingo tracks.
Nice.
And like, that was eye-opening for me because Danny's got an incredible ear for just very rich, lush, dark, and sad, like not even sad, just melancholy tracks in general. And that was a big thing that I was very much so into before I really got into Eurobeat. And hopefully, actually McCann, way back in the day, like an orchestral-oriented musician, he now works at LucasArts, he was like, oh yeah, I can hear that right away. I'm like, really? In the Eurobeat about Technicolor horses, you can hear a Danny Elfman influence. He's like, oh yeah, easily. Like some of the stuff that you've done with like pads and choirs and stuff. Oh, okay. Oh, by the way, McCann, he's one of those people that you like is so perfect that you want to hate him, but he's so good that you can't because he's just so kind. And he's like, how can you be so blessed and still be a good person? Stop it! I wanna dislike you, but you're just so good. I just want to pat you on the head and give you all the things you ever want in life. And like, that's McCann, man. That's like that. I probably shouldn't. We might want to cut the last name out. But like, that's Ben.
I'll cut that out. You're good.
Yeah, like I don't want to accidentally dox him into means of praising him, but like,
no, you're fine.
Dude is extremely talented. He's an artist. He's a musician. He's just a generally cool guy. We hung out way back in like one of the first few Everfree Northwests. And just, my gosh, if you ever want to talk about someone who's like, oh, he's also completely like ripped and just completely fit, able to jump around, do backflips and stuff. But he's also the nicest individual you'll ever meet. Like, that's part of the thing was like, you want to hate him because he's got everything, but he's also a good person and will like compliment you on things that you didn't expect. So you're like, I have to love you and I want to. I want to hate you, but like, you're too good a person. I want so many good things for you.
Oh my God.
That is McCann. But like, he was able to tell the Elfman influence in my work. And even some of the stuff that I made before I knew what Eurobeat was very Elfman-like. And yeah, just like for me, it's less about genre and more about like musicianship, the kinds of interesting things that notes are doing, which is why I'm really into power metal and Eurobeat, or even soul, and some Kraftwerk's. Oh man, I grew up on Kraftwerk's The Mix. All right, I'm spending too much time on this one subject, but like, there's so much good music, man. I just like good music, whatever genre it is. It could be like Twitch in place, a unrhythmic screamo, and if it's musically interesting, then I'm all about it.
Then you should check out Death Heaven. Anyway, moving on. I'm not gonna freak out. Moving on. All right, Sunbro for life has a question.
Yes.
I'm gonna take my favorite that he always asks.
Yes.
Have you accepted Skeletor, the master of the universe, into your heart?
Well, I've started with Papyrus. I'm gonna work my way up through Waluigi up to Skeletor, and then by then I should be ready.
Yes!
Exactly.
All right. All right.
And he prays. Oh my God, do I pray?
Oh my god.
Can we get a Barcast version of that song, please?
This is my favorite podcast. Did I ever tell you that? I haven't even.
It's the tagline.
Morning.
That's on the top of iTunes.
I haven't even listened to any other episodes, and this is already my favorite. I haven't been like listening to some other stuff I've been on, but none have ever gotten me this absolutely smashed.
Aww.
This is a good
good.
one.
He wanted blue, guys.
Blue and yellow. No.
All right.
I hate that I love that series so much. It's so terrible and I love it. Let me smash. Please.
I'm gonna grab for you the next question from Mike Snipe,
Yes.
who asked the question I think we're all thinking:
Mhm.
Has pony music gotten you laid?
I saw this question and I have an interesting answer for once.
Oh my
It has
god!
gotten me offers from people who are already accounted for. I have been propositioned by women who are engaged.
Oh.
Holy
Yeah, real talk.
shit!
There was a convention. I'm not going to name names or anything because I don't want to like shame any of them,
Oh,
or like
no,
if they're
no, no,
listening
no, no.
in, like I don't want to like put them on the chopping block. But like there was someone that I met at a convention. Like we were talking a little bit beforehand, and they were like, hey, so I'm pretty into you. Oh, that's cool. No, seriously, I'm engaged, and I would drop that if you ever were interested. Okay. And then they also sent me like I'm a big fan of Chihiro Fu. That might be a giveaway. Like they sent totally clean and wonderful things like merchandise my way, and that was really cool. And then at a convention, they're like, "Oh, by the way, I meant everything I said, and the instant you say the word, I'm all yours."
Oh shit.
Oh,
And I was like, "I can't do that. You're accounted for. You have an engagement ring on your finger. I just can't do that."
I think I said
Let
it
it be
earlier.
known.
Eurobeat,
Woo!
aphrodisiac.
let it be known that Odyssey is not a home wrecker.
Look, I can't do that because, like, look, she was attractive. She was fun. Oh my gosh, if she was not accounted for, I would have been like, hey, so like, let's start out maybe dating because I'm probably, for the record, I'm waiting till marriage. Like, I'm actually not. I'm actually kind of like
Genuinely,
doing that kind of thing
nothing
on
wrong with
purpose.
that.
So like, I was not gonna smash that soon, but like, if she was not accounted for, I'd been like if she hadn't said to someone else, I'm committed to you, hey, let's get dinner or something. Let's go do stuff together. Let's start a relationship. But like,
Let's
she
do a
was-
kiss.
Yeah, let's do a kiss where I
Let's
actually
hold
know.
hands.
Yeah. Oh gosh, dude.
Oh, hold
What
on.
kind of- Yo. Like, what kind of? This is a lewd thing. I'm getting out of here. But because she was accounted for, I keep saying accounted for. That's a really objective way to put it. Like she had committed to someone else,
Yes.
and I wanted to respect his commitment in this case. And because she was the one offering it,
And
was not
hers.
respecting that. Yeah, well, here's the thing. She was not respecting that, so I was not going. It was mostly for him because she was ready to throw that away.
Right.
And I'm like, I don't think I ever said anything to this effect. But I was like, you know what? I can't do that. I'm not going to be the person that gets in the way of what should be a loving and committed relationship. So it was flattered as I am that I'm the one that you want to do that with. The guy that made the Brony song that someone else did better, but you still like that one. As much as I'm flattered, I just can't. Like, that's not gonna be the thing for me. Like, if I'm gonna start a relationship like that, I want it to be with someone who's not already committed to somebody else.
I think that's totally fair. So
I'm
let's
single,
spin.
by the way.
Oh my
So
god!
it's got me.
Alex.
Okay, so it's got me plenty. What? I think I missed that. What?
Hey, Odyssey. So you see, I'm single, and I'm listening to music.
Oh gosh.
Especially Discord.
Hey!
All right, let's spin this in a different direction.
Yeah.
Lone Trooper asks, "What is your favorite heartwarming experience at a convention?"
Okay, so there was a convention that I played where after my set, a little girl was like, "Hey, I really liked your set, thank you." I'm like, "Oh yeah, no problem, that was totally good." Like, and she was like, "Oh, can you sign this?" I'm like, "Oh, absolutely," and I signed it. I'm like, "Oh, that was really sweet." I think nothing of it. I turn the corner, and there's a gentleman in tears, and he says, "This is the first time she's been out of the hospital in a couple of months, in a few months, and she wanted to see you perform.
Oh.
And the way that you spoke to her and the way that you took care of her, I cannot thank you enough." And that, like, I'm actually getting a little worked up right now. I was thinking about it. So, like, at the moment, I was like, hold back the tears! Hold it back! I'm glad I could make your daughter's night, sir. I'm gonna go. Just go real quick. This is gonna happen.
And if she
that's what I
keeps
said.
it up, I can make her night even better.
Oh,
Dude,
man.
she was like 12. Come on. Like, yeah, no.
But she wasn't engaged. She wasn't engaged, though.
Yeah, no, she was also not the age of consent, dude. That's
okay.
I may have missed the age part.
You have
This is a
Hold
very
on.
different person from the engaged woman that propositioned me. This is a
Alex?
very different person.
Alex, you're in that corner. Flam, you're in that corner.
Yeah,
I
see you,
didn't hear
bro.
the age initially. Holy shit.
Yeah, no.
I mean, what are these high standards?
Yo,
Choose
real
the
talk though.
rules.
I actually prefer women that are slightly older than myself. Like a year or two? Yes, please.
Ooh.
Hey, I understand, man.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I do too.
So believe me, like that.
I know.
Sorry, that gives me the Ghiblies. And not the studio Ghiblies, like the strong bad Ghiblies.
Oh. Here
Oh, Ghibli.
we go once again with the email. All right, Milos has a question.
But it's from a female. Oh man, not from a female.
You have such a good impression of that. Okay. What Milos asks, what did you look at or what inspires you to make music? Or does it all just come naturally?
Oh god, the Partridge Family jokes that I've had over my life. My entire family is musical. Like I said, my dad plays bass, my mom plays piano, my sister played drums, my brother plays guitar, I play keys. Together, we make memes. I mean, the Partridge Family jokes. I mean, a band, ultimately. So, while my family, my mom's been in bands, my dad's been in bands, my brother has played guitar for various things. My sister found that she wasn't very much into live performances, but I really loved music. Like, that was something that I really got into. So, when this is actually a really interesting story. My family grew up without cable for years. So when we moved into the house that my parents now own on their own, and they got cable, I would sit and watch for a couple of shows. Some silly, fun stuff that was fun, or really engaging shows I would stick around for. Otherwise, I would go back into my room and I would make music on this abandonware MIDI sequencer. And some of that music's actually still floating out there on the internet. It's really bad. But I would make just music that was very Eurobeat-like at the time, and I didn't know it until later. Like, listening back to it, it's like, wow, I really meant to make Eurobeat, and I just didn't know what that was. And I was just really drawn to sounds that you couldn't get from, like, a guitar or a piano or a trumpet. Like, with synthesis, you could make sounds that didn't exist anywhere else. you had a sound that was just unique to that specific keyboard or that specific, arrangement of knobs and buttons. And I liked that. Now, granted, I was working with General MIDI, so I was really just making GeoCities core for the most part. But I liked that I could make something that sounded entirely my own, just no matter which way you looked at it. Even if the instruments were all the same, the music behind it was interesting enough to be unique. So whenever my family would sit and watch something together, like even Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, which usually kept me pretty gripped at the time, I'd just go back into my room and start plugging away at MIDI Soft Studio 4, which I once called in for with a support ticket, and they're like, "All right, which product are you calling in for?" MIDI Soft Studio 4? Really? I didn't even know that still existed, man.
Oh my
Like,
God.
the entire list that they go through dropped. Like, really? That's not a name I've heard for many a year. they're like, yeah. They're even like, yeah. I'm sorry. Like, that's before my time. I wouldn't be able to help you there. Like, the closest thing I could think of is this one, and I don't think they kept as much from that one to this one. I'm really sorry. Wherever you got it, you might need to look into what happened. But yeah, for years I worked in MIDI Soft Studio 4 before I got into an ancient version of Cubase, as in now with VST, to Logic Pro. But I've grown up around music. My dad raised me on a pretty good diet of Kraftwerk and Marcus Miller and Bela Fleck, and my mom raised me on Mannheim Steamroller and Earth, Wind and Fire and Stevie Wonder, and I've always just loved music on my own. Just from what I heard from those, like, man, this is really neat. That's a really roundabout way of answering this question, and just one question out of lists of several. I'm out of Fireball. I might just do shots of horchata at this point.
Do it.
All right.
Woo!
There are so many people that came out specifically just to ask you questions, like people that don't normally listen to our podcast. I'm going to try and give them just a little bit of love here.
That's fair.
One of them is from Harlan Butts, who says, "Oh my God, Eurobeat Brony is a legend. Here are my questions."
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to pick, you have to choose between Gas, 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 Deja Vu, or Running in the 90s.
Okay, so I'm going to have to choose Running in the 90s because Deja Vu is a very specific meme. Gas, Gas, Gas is even more specific and very recent, though I am glad that a more recent track has caught on.
Mm-hmm.
Running in the 90s is so utterly applicable across the board. Plus, I've worked with that producer. Like, the very first song I ever did on Super Eurobeat was with the producer of Running in the 90s, Laurent Newfield.
Mm-hmm.
And he also got Vince DiGiorgio to rewrite the lyrics. He was the A&R representative that found the Backstreet Boys. And he rewrote the lyrics to the song that I sent, When the Wolves Sing, and he rewrote it into When the Sun Goes Down. And Running in the 90s, just as its own song, even though it rips off Tora 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 by Domino,
Right.
without authorization from Brad Sinclair, by the way, I do think it is a song that transcends some of the same reaches, some of the same limits that Deja Vu or Gas, Gas, Gas kind of has to stay within. Running in the 90s is just a song that you get right off the bat. It's like, oh, stuff is going fast. Stuff is going around a corner really fast or something. It's the Eurobeat equivalent of Guile's theme Works Everywhere.
Yeah. It's
the Eurobeat version of that, basically. It goes everywhere. It's something that you can do anywhere all the time. And it is, to the Eurobeat world, what Space Boy and Night of Fire wanted to be and would have been in the commercial world, but not in the internet world, you know?
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
So
cool.
of those, I have to pick Running in the 90s.
Now we got Patchwork Poltergeist. Patches is so nice. She follows your work and she goes with a very gentle, kind question. Where the hell is my Eurobeat remix of The Light of Your Cutie Mark and Rules of Rarity and Time to Be Awesome and basically all the songs from season 4 onward?
You bitch.
Hey,
What the fuck?
yo, real talk. Which season was Luna's Future from?
God, now I have this blank stare, like I'm remembering Vietnam.
Story of my entire fandom career, man.
I don't actually remember.
So, I mean, that's pretty close to around about season 4. Here's the thing. There's a lot of the show that I haven't caught up on, not because I don't want to, but because I just haven't really had much time, or when I had that time, I had to focus on other things. Like I've been making a lot of original work, and I've really been enjoying that. And if I watched the episodes with The Light of Your Cutie Mark and Rules of Rarity, and I liked it enough to remix it, I would make that remix. Time to Be Awesome, I feel like either Delta Brony or another artist might have covered that one well enough. Like, look, I'm not the only Eurobeat artist in the Brony fandom. There are other people rather, that have the capability of making this. Like, it doesn't have to be from me. That said, if at some point during my rewatch or my catching up on the show, I bump into those and I'm like, oh man, that's great. That makes me want to make a Eurobeat remix. I'm gonna do it. If not, then you're kind of SOL.
Yeah.
Like, that's been the case, by the way, for the entire Super Pony Beat series. Originals, remixes, whatever I'm doing, I make what I want. And that's not necessarily me being like, well, excuse me, I'm just going to do whatever. It's like, look, I make Eurobeat remixes when I'm inspired by them. That's always been the case for Super Pony Beat, and it remains true even now. If I get inspired by MLP to make another remix, I'm going to do it. If I get inspired by Zed to do another remix, I'm going to do it. If I get inspired or A1 contacts me to make another one from Toho, I'm going to do it. They actually specify which songs they want me to remix in the case of A1. But
so it's entirely kind of the feel of it. Like, you may decide, oh, I need to make, In Our Town, which you released 3 years ago.
Yeah.
Or you may randomly decide, oh, well, Seven Lions just put out a new banger, I need to do that.
Right. Actually, fun fact. One of the organizers of Japan PonyCon loved my remix of In Our Town because I referenced, that song is produced in reference to a producer in the Eurobeat world that I don't tend to imitate. It's a bit more like Brett Sinclair, who produced Night of Fire and things like, and then songs like that, who I don't tend to replicate. Like, I usually don't do that one note at a time kind of thing. But he was like, oh man, that's great. But if you listen to my remix of In Our Town and compare it to Night of Fire, there are some similarities, and that's intentional. But yeah, like, Eurobeat remixes in particular come when I damn well feel like it. And that's not me being like, oh, screw you for suggesting, so much as like, if I want to, I'll do it. I feel like that's a better way to approach remixes than, oh, it was in the show, better remix it. Because I'd rather make a remix that I feel strongly about than one that is expected of me, even if I don't like it. Like,
It's more about that passion and avoiding burnout.
Exactly. I mean, there is an element of avoiding burnout. There was a period of time when I was kind of burned out, but I feel like I would rather make something out of genuine passion that, and that passion shows in what I've worked on, than force something for the sake of views and clicks and getting that sweet, those sweet brony bucks, all 3 cents of it,
Oh, yeah.
Like,
yeah.
Like, there are artists that do that, and I just can't bring myself to be one of those. I'm going to make what I feel inclined to make.
Right.
God, you guys are getting some raw answers out of me. Like,
No,
I feel like
this is
drinking
great.
really adds an element to this.
Well, no, the whole thing about this podcast is that we want to get to know who the people behind the work really are.
Yeah.
That's the whole thing here. We're not here
This
to
is
talk.
how.
I want to touch 2 quick things because we're pretty much already out of time. But
Oh, God, really?
These oh yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, we
let's
just
go
got started.
2 hours.
No, we've got two things I want to touch on because
Yes,
they
yes.
don't talk very much, but they're really good questions. First thing is from Dash Till Dawn, who
Mhm.
says, before I start asking my questions, which we're not going to be able to get to, I want to clarify that the only reason I got into Bronies was because of the work of you and the Living Tombstone. And because had he not heard your work and Tombstone's work, there's a good chance he wouldn't be here today.
I appreciate that.
And Niaro, who I've never seen before, has a question, which this could get long and sprawled out, but I think it's for someone who has respect for the craft. This is a question that you want to get.
Yes.
What do you believe to be the largest contributing factor in the continued survival of Eurobeat?
Oh gosh. Okay, so for lack of a better way to put this, that doesn't sound spiteful to Avex, because I do think that they are on some level aware of what they need and are now trying. Honestly, everything that Avex hasn't done for Eurobeat, making it universally available, adapting to modern trends in dance while still retaining its existing identity, and just keeping the sense of fun and joy, unbridled, uncensored, unashamed joy that Eurobeat is about. Because look, like, Super Pony Beat didn't get popular just because it remixed LP or just because it was a quirky sound. It was kind of a fusion of those things, and the fact that it was available to everyone. Super Eurobeat is only within this year available on like North American iTunes and North American like sources. You couldn't get this stuff legally in most ways, but the Eurobeat sound, people are pining for it. People want this kind of sound. Knocking bottles over. Like, people want to hear this kind of thing one way or another, and most of the ways they've had to do it are through illegal sources. Making it available readily in as many ways as people want, and in a way that people can actually understand. Remixes of modern artists, remixes of modern sounds, incorporation of existing trends, or even just making it available on Bandcamp or something where people don't have to spoof a Japanese IP address to get. I think that is one of the largest contributing factors. I think as long as people make Eurobeat available to those who want it, it will survive. Because people know what it is. They love it. They want it. Snail's House knows what Eurobeat is. Pegboard nerds know what Eurobeat is. Porter Robinson is a Eurobeat fan. And they know what it is. They want it. It just needs to be available. Make it available and it will survive.
And then everyone can be 100% in the bitch.
I've been clinging to this subject for quite a few years. I feel like that might have been a little loud. My bad.
No, this was your moment. This was your time to shine.
Like, look, Super Pony Beat, any number of factors. The reason it got remixed by a Eurobeat label is not because it was MLP themed, not just because it had over 1 million views. It was something people could resonate with, not just because it was the MLP was a gateway to it. People like Discord because it's a fun song. Eurobeat contributes to that fun. It's a fun sound. People want that joy. People want that life in what they listen to. And making it available means that they can enjoy it, and they will, and they'll support it. If it's available for money, they will pay for it. It just needs to be available where they are. And that's something Avex just does not seem to understand. Like, I've had to tell people, like, look, I'm sorry, you live in the United States. You can't get my songs that appeared in the initial The Arcade game. Not until it's available over here. I'm sorry, I can't do that. But now, now I can. But by then, I've already made works that people can. I'm taking this way over time. I'm sorry.
No, you're fine, please.
But, like, that's the thing. Like, I've made works that are kind of follow-ups to it. Luna is kind of a spiritual successor to When the Sun Goes Down from the initial DE soundtrack from Super Eurobeat Volume 201. It was a pony available version of that, and people could relate to it. They could click on it. They could buy it, or download it for free, because I can't really do that with songs about a copyrighted character. Like, it was something they could connect to. Eurobeat, people want it, people love it, people like it, people want to make it, people want to buy it. Like, it is a sound that is in demand. It is 90s Japanese culture. That is Tumblr candy. That is Tumblr candy. Like, people want this kind of thing. All they gotta do is make it available, and promote it. That is all they gotta do. That right there would be like 3/4 of what Eurobeat would need to survive as a genre. Until then, Avex has continued to strangle the genre to a point that few have had a grasp on an abstract concept in such a strong way.
Oh man, it's just so inspiring to listen to you talk. Like, I love that we get to meet so many different and like diverse people while doing these interviews, and just listening to you talk about your craft is truly inspiring.
Dude, real talk, I'd shed blood for Eurobeat. Like, this is a style that got me out of some pretty serious depressions. This has got me to play across the world. This has allowed me to make music that has reached people. Like, Eurobeat is a genre that I would suffer for. What?
It's got you on the Barcast. I mean, that's the hard.
That's true. That's the pinnacle right there. It's like, I mean, shoot, might as well be here. And to answer
This is your yearly torture.
yearly? Oh shoot, I can come back next year. Oh.
I think I can safely say for the 20 people watching us right now who are all requesting that you come back on another time, that you can stay and hang around, and we will invite you back.
Woo! Let's do it.
You
I
are
would love to
good
do that.
people, and you are welcome in these circles.
Yeah, and in the meantime, you can just stay fucking around on the server. Everyone's a bunch of
Hell
degenerates,
yes.
So.
I'd be down. Absolutely.
We actually have we'll talk more about that after we're done. But
For sure. And to answer your kill screen, when I'm invited to Austin, Texas. That's my question.
it sounds like you got a couch to crash on in Austin.
Oh,
then.
and when is Drop Team Epic getting those deceptive stems within the day? I've got you.
Hey, and then all you need to do is wrap up Luna too. But you know,
Wait, what?
whatever you.
Oh yeah, that.
Yeah.
That's a secret. That's for Baltimore to find out.
Ooh, hype! I actually think Super Trampoline is going to, or Batty. I mean, the MIDI for Batty.
Oh, that, yeah. I mean, I can also do that too.
You know, whatever
I
you
totally
want.
didn't divulge any secrets.
Whatever you want, I guess. But seriously though, Odyssey, thank you so much for coming on. It was so wonderful and refreshing to listen to you talk about the craft and get an insight into ancient pony history.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me. And please, if ever you want to talk more about ancient horse history, Grandpa Odyssey's got you covered. In my day, Sethista was just a tricksy role player, and we didn't much care for it at the time either. I got you. If ever you want me back, please let me know. If I can work it out, then please, absolutely, let's do this again.
Hell yeah, man. But until next time, let me do that professional thing and bring up the guest list and hype up for next week.
Oh,
Woo!
yeah.
Milk, help me. No, actually, I've got it.
Invisibrony.
Invisibrony? Oh, right. Everyone be sure to tune in next week when we're doing completely unpaid advertisement for the amino community. I'm sure you guys have heard of aminos from other YouTubers and stuff before. We're
Sort of
gonna talk
acid, isn't it? The DNA? Amino acids?
No, like the app.
The what?
Oh, yeah, I've heard of Amino. A friend of mine actually has a friend that's pretty active on there.
It's an actual community app that you can post nothing that's 18 plus. So we're gonna get someone that runs it and put them on an 18 plus podcast that we can't promote ourselves at all on. So it's flawless planning.
Perfect.
But until next time, everyone, thank you for tuning in. This has been Alex _.
Yes. Sorry.
Flam and Warfer. Yes. Milk.
Yes.
Of course, our wonderful guest, Odyssey.
Remember to like, comment, subscribe, hit that bell for notifications.
God damn it. God damn it.
And of course, before I go, for those who haven't taken any shots yet, Discord.
Oh.
I just downed a shot of rum chata. I'm gonna regret that in like 5 minutes.
My name's Flutter Priest. This was a good week. You guys, see you next week.
Take care, y'all.
Bye-bye.